On this episode today, it's a new year, and we're building off of last week's episodes about being versus doing. And as we enter the new year, I have a new challenge for you to help your planning. Have you set your GPS for the year ahead? Have you set your GPS for the year ahead? Keep tuning in, and I'll explain. Welcome back to The Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced the best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back, breathe in good oxygen, and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world. Hey everybody, it's Jason, and welcome back to the Thermostat Podcast. Wherever you are and however you're coming to the podcast today, welcome in. So glad you are here. We are now in Season 7, Episode 2. Off and running into a new year, and so glad you are with us. If you are one of the OGs that have been with us from the very beginning of this podcast, then welcome back. So glad this continues to add value to your life, your work, your own development. And if you are new to this podcast, then so glad you're here. It's been awesome to watch this podcast continue to grow and spread and reach so many new people and places. So welcome in. I hope you'll go back and check out over 150 episodes now. So there's so many great micro pods and then also unbelievable guests that have joined me on this podcast. So hope you'll go back, check it out, and engage with everything that we're doing. My promise to you, as always, will be that this is a place for you to connect your thoughts, to step back, to breathe a little bit, and to think about the temperature that you're hoping to set in your own life, your own, with your relationships, and certainly with your team, your organization. How do you develop your thinking around leadership and culture and who it is that you're hoping to be in the year ahead? So hope this continues to engage your mind and heart and allow you time and space to do that. So I hope you'll keep listening and tuning in. Before we dive into today's podcast, if you will do me the quick favor, if you will, of course, subscribe, rate this podcast 5 stars, of course, on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. If you'll leave a positive review with your own, authentic words, that's really important. And I keep being told that is one of the ways in which the algorithms work to help amplify these messages. So if you'll do those things, if obviously every time you share about episodes that resonate with you on social media or share them with your team or your colleagues, or hey, this is a conversation we ought to have on our team or in our own development. Every time you do that, it helps amplify these messages and share them further in the world. And that obviously is the purpose. So thanks to everybody who takes the time to do that. So on this episode today, it's a new year, and we're building off of last week's episodes about being versus doing. And as we enter the new year and have I have a new challenge for you to help your planning. Have you set your GPS for the year ahead? Have you set your GPS for the year ahead? Keep tuning in, and I'll explain. But before we dive into today's episode, let's take a break. Let's pause for a second, and we'll be right back. Today's podcast is supported by Epcon Communities. Epcon Communities is one of the nation's premier builders of exceptional ranch-style homes and lifestyle-rich neighborhoods that are popular with the active adult market as they seek to right-size into a home design that fits their needs. When it comes to a home, everyone is looking for different things. Luckily, there are so many things to love in an Epcon design that anyone can personalize a perfect solution that suits their personal stage in life. Their homes are designed and built to live well by connecting you to the outdoors and your community. A private courtyard forms the centerpiece of the home, allowing you access to a quiet, peaceful, private oasis just steps from anywhere inside. And with open floor plans, luxurious kitchens and baths, and versatile room arrangements, the only limit to making their homes something that is truly yours is your imagination. Visit EpconCommunities.com today to see the many remarkable neighborhoods under development right now across the country by Epcon and its local franchises. I've had the privilege of speaking at a number of EPCON events over the years, and it has always been great to see how eager their people are to implement the thermostat culture's principles and their desire for positive accountability and spreading good oxygen to other people. So, cheers to the EPCON team and their commitment to creating a thermostat culture across the country. And thank you for supporting messages like this. All right, welcome back. So glad that you're with us today. If you remember on the last episode, really, and if you didn't hear it, I encourage you to go back and listen to it as we begin this new year. It was all focused on being versus doing. And I encouraged all of us, myself included, of course, to think about this as we enter a new year, where the tradition, of course, is to make all these New Year's resolutions about all the things we're going to do in the new year. And I really challenged all of us to not just rush into the new year with crazy New Year's resolutions of all the things you say you're going to do, but then the research would tell us that we actually, lose interest in about 3 to 4 weeks with most of those things. And so I challenged all of us to think about who is it that we want to be in the year ahead. And I shared some thoughts about the person that I'm hoping to be in the year ahead. And, with that, I encouraged all of us to let our being drive our doing. Let our being drive our doing and not the other way around. And a practice that this is a practice that I've been thinking about now for a number of years and tried to do entering each new year is to think about, who is it that I want to be in the year ahead? And then the doing becomes the strategic plan to pull it off, rather than launching into a new year with all these goals of things I want to do, but they really aren't rooted in anything. It's just a shallow checklist of things. So, I've been thinking about myself. Am I focused on being healthy? And again, I defined that a little bit broader in the last episode. If you didn't hear it, go back and check it out. But also thinking about being connected and passionate about my relationships, my partnerships, my friends, my connections in my life. Thinking about, my own gratitude, and sense of that in my life, and my own continuous development around taking care of myself, my own learning, my own growing, but then also so that I can hopefully breathe good oxygen into the people around us. So those are some of the things that I'm trying to be in the year ahead, and I encourage us all to think about, to go back, listen to that, and think about, who is it that you want to be in the year ahead. So as we get clear on that, I want to also set my GPS in accordance with the being that I wish to drive my doing. And so let me explain what I mean by this GPS, because we know what a typical GPS is that helps us get from point A to point B and tell us all the turns we're going to take and all that. But I want to talk about our GPS for the year ahead, standing for something different. Out of your being, how do you want to set your GPS? And by GPS, I mean your goals, your passion, and your service. GPS, goals, passion, and service. So first, as we enter into the new year, is to, again, and I hope that all of this is being, rooted and growing out of our being versus our doing, but to then get clear on what are some of those goals that, again, are rooted in your being, but what are the goals? So what are your biggest goals for the year ahead based on who it is that you want to be? Again, I think about it from the sense of, Amy and I have the practice that I've talked about again on this podcast in the past, and certainly written about in Breathing Oxygen and in some other places. But this idea of entering this, practice that we have of entering each year of really getting focused on who is it that we're trying to be as a couple, and in our marriage in the year ahead, who is it that we hope to be for each other, and what is it that and let that kind of drive our doing. And then we set goals based on that being. Same thing for myself professionally, to think about who is it that I'm hoping to be with my partnerships and the teams that I serve and the connections that I have with the teams and organizations that I'm hoping to help engage the minds and hearts of their people and help drive the development of their leadership culture and clarity of mission, vision, values. And so I get really clear on, if that's who I'm hoping to be, then what are some goals that I begin to set? And that begins to set the GPS for my year ahead. So what are your biggest goals for the year ahead based on who it is that you want to be? The second part of the GPS is passion. And how will you show your passion, your energy, your focus on your goals weekly? And so as we begin to set our GPS and we might get clear on those goals, then how am I going to, and again, I'll use the example of as Amy and I get clear on who we're trying to be in our marriage in the year ahead, what does it then look like and how will it feel to bring some passion and some energy and some focus to that on a weekly basis? What will I do based on that, who we're trying to be, and what will she do? How can we, when I think about the not just the outcomes that we're hoping to drive with the teams and organizations that I serve and the goals that we have for the partnerships that I have with supporting leaders and cultures and many different teams and organizations, but not just the outcome and the goals that we have, but how is it that I'm going to bring passion and energy and focus to those weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever that agreement may be. So how will you show passion, energy, and focus on your goals weekly? What will you actually do? And then the last part of GPS, goals is the G, passion is the P. The S is service. Who is the goal in service of or for? And do you have clarity? And it can be multiple, So an example for me, how can I serve my partnerships better? And to step back and to think about how could I help serve them? And a practice that I often do is to think back. And I actually asked this. I just had a great conversation with a client recently who said, how can I be a better partner to you? How can I serve you better? And to listen and to think about how I could serve that relationship and that company and that team a little bit better. So what do they need? And for me to step back and to what are they seeking? How do I understand what it is that they really need and what they want? And to think about that from a partnership with the teams and organizations I serve. To step back, and even though we're entering, our 22nd year of marriage, again, for Amy and I, for me to step back and think about, well, how can I serve that relationship better? How can I serve differently? What is it that she needs? What do I need? For us to be thinking that what does she want? What is she seeking at this age in our lives? To think about the different age developmental stages of our children, and to think about how can I serve my kids at these ages in their own development? What do they need? What might they be seeking at this time in life? And how can I be a part of their success? How can I continue to help with that relationship? What do I want, with and for them? How is it? So as we think about service, to think about who is the goal in service of or for, and what might they need? What might they be seeking? How could I help them? So to be thinking about your GPS and setting your GPS as you enter a new year, what are those goals? How will you show the passion, the energy, and the focus each week in alignment with those goals? And then who are the goals in service of or for, and what are they seeking and needing? The most successful humans, leaders, I think spouses, I think friends, entrepreneurs, parents, and certainly teams and organizations on the planet are the ones that are rooted in their being. There's a compelling, this is why we're doing what we're doing and who it is that we're hoping to be, the mission that we want to drive what we're doing. And who they're compelled to be drives then what they do, not the other way around. And the GPS is just a way to help guide us and help us kind of put that, steer us in the right direction like a GPS is meant to do. And again, it may seem like a subtle and somewhat meaningless distinction to you, but the focus is this secret sauce. So focusing on the being versus the doing, and then that nuanced, what is the GPS? We know that if GPS is meant to steer us in a particular direction, that where you look is where you go. So what are you giving your eyes to in terms of your being? And what are the goals? How will you share the passion? And who are the goals in service of or for? So Some questions for you to ponder on this next stretch for you is, again, not just who do you want to be, but what's your GPS? What are your goals for the year ahead? For yourself personally, for the relationships, and certainly for your team, for your organization. How do you want to share your passion, your energy, and your focus weekly in order to pursue those goals? And who are you hoping to serve? Who are your goals in service of or for? And what is it that they need? What are they seeking? What do they want? Again, I hope you'll keep tuning in. We've got a lot of great episodes coming ahead in this season. And remember, the best humans, leaders, teams, organizations on the planet, they calibrate their thermostat for the temperature they aim to set, and then they breathe good oxygen into themselves and others along the way. That culture shaping never, ever stops. So let's set our thermostats and breathe in good oxygen together. Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using, and share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to you and your organization, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we are all ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat.